Comment, like, subscribe. The bell keeps you notified. It helps the show thrive. As we discussed in quite deep detail in the latest Name Explained video, the former Prince of Charles is now King Charles III due to the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. While this is a huge title change in the world of the UK royal family, it is definitely not the only title change that has happened with the death of Elizabeth II. Her death has seen a whole plethora of title changes with the higher up members of the royal family. Names and titles that we've been familiar with for decades are suddenly gone, replaced with new titles that may take some time to get used to. However, not everything has changed amongst the royals of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Some titles we've all been familiar with for so long are still being used. So to wrap up this week of royal content, let's look into all the other title changes that have happened in the UK royal family due to the death of Queen Elizabeth II. Of course, to begin with, we have Prince Charles losing his title of Prince in favour of King, which we're all well aware of by now. While he was Prince of Wales, he was also Duke of Cornwall and Rothesay too, which are titles he used more often when he was in the southwest of England and Scotland respectively. These titles he also abandoned when he became king, along with the title of Prince of Wales. Charles has been covered extensively, but what about his wife Camilla? Before her husband became king, she was most well known for using the title of Duchess of Cornwall, which she received through her marriage to Charles. This is interesting because Charles didn't use the title of Duke of Cornwall all too much, using Prince of Wales much more. While Camilla could have been the Princess of Wales, that title was not used because of its deep links with Charles's first wife, Diana. But all this doesn't matter too much anymore anyway, as with her husband being king, she has now become queen. Well, kind of. She isn't the same sort of queen Queen Elizabeth II was. Liz was the queen regnant, meaning she was queen in her own right through ancestry. Camilla is now known as queen consort. A queen consort is the title the wife of the king gets when it's the king who is the actual monarch by blood. While dubbed a queen, being a queen consort does not give the bearer title the same power as the king or a queen regnant. It's more a ceremonial title, and her main role will now be in aiding her husband the king and supporting him. It was actually somewhat debated if Camilla would use this title prior to her husband becoming king. Many thought that she wouldn't because of her and Charles's past marriages. Divorce in the royal family was once a much larger issue than it is now. However, this idea of her not being queen consort was put to rest in February 2020, when Queen Elizabeth II herself gave Camilla her blessing to use the title once she had died, which we are seeing happen now. So while the UK will still have a queen, it will be a very different kind of queen. While that's the title of the new king and queen covered, what about the new heir apparent to the throne? This is of course Prince William. When he married Kate Middleton in 2011, he received the title of Duke of Cambridge to be used in England and Wales, Earl of Streatham to be used in Scotland, and Baron Carrickfergus to be used in Northern Ireland. Though despite having all these titles, he is best known as the Duke of Cambridge, which made his wife Duchess of Cambridge. Though now he is heir apparent, he has been given the title Prince of Wales from his father. This is the title that traditionally belongs to the heir apparent. I literally just made a whole video on the subject. He has also received his father's other titles of Duke of Cornwall and Duke of Rothesay, but according to Wikipedia, Charles has a boatload of other titles too, which have all now automatically gone to Will too, and this includes the Earl of Carrick, Baron of Renfrew, Lord of the Isles, and Prince and Great Steward of Scotland. However, unlike his father, it doesn't seem that Will has relinquished his former titles, meaning he is still Duke of Cambridge, among other things, as well as having all these new titles inherited from Dad. Will is giving Commodus a run for his money in the amount of titles he has. Though despite hoarding titles in the way a dragon hoards gold, it seems that William will most likely just be known as the Prince of Wales, with that title now taking priority. But we also have his very own family too, his wife Catherine, more well known as Kate, and their 3 children of George, Charlotte and Louis. What has become of their names? Well, Kate, as the prince's wife, has received all the titles her husband gets too. This means she is now going to be more commonly known as the Princess of Wales, a title which, as mentioned, the previous wife of the heir apparent did not use at all. As for their kids, well, prior to Elizabeth II's death, they were George, Charlotte and Louis of Cambridge. It's worth... I've written ducks instead of dukes. That's quite funny. It's worth highlighting that they weren't the Dukes or Duchesses of Cambridge, but rather of Cambridge, which signified they were the kids of the Duke and Duchess themselves. It's a minor difference, but apparently a big deal. Having the word "the" in your title is a pretty big deal, and something they don't have yet. But logically, with their mum and dad now most commonly going by the titles of Princess and Prince of Wales, it now means the kids will be known as George, Charlotte and Louis of Wales. Though I also read they might use the last name of Cornwall and Cambridge, but this seems to just be a theory from prior to the Queen's death, and Forbes, who were claiming this, used the Daily Express as their source, which is a garbage newspaper, so maybe don't read too much into it. We then had Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Their whole title situation is somewhat up in the air anyway, with their decision to not be full-time royals. We made a whole video on that subject way back when. In regards to Liz's death, however, it seems that neither of their titles will be changing. This is due to the fact that he nor his wife are directly in line to the throne. They will remain Duke and Duchess of Sussex. What's more interesting, however, is the fate of their children and their titles. Their two children of Archie and Lilibet had no royal titles at all. They instead had actual last names of Mountbatten Windsor. Despite being the kids of a prince, they never received the titles of Prince and Princess. This is due to a latter patent issued by King George V all the way back in 1917. This declared that the titles of Prince and Princess could only go as far back as grandchildren of the King or Queen. As Archie and Lilibet were Queen Elizabeth's great-grandchildren, they did not fit that criteria. However, Liz's other great-grandkids, William's children of George, Charlotte and Louis, have always been called princes and princesses. This is due to the fact that they were direct in line to the throne, as their dad was second and now first in line. But now, with Charles as king, it meant they are grandkids to the monarch as opposed to great-grandkids of the monarch, ergo valid for the titles of prince and princess. However, whether this will happen remains to be seen, due to Prince Harry no longer wishing to be a full-time member of the royal family. King Charles' plans to slim down the monarchy with less key players, so there is a chance he may change the rule so Archie and Lilibet are not prince or princess at all. And even if this doesn't happen, they might not use the title anyway. It's still a developing situation. By the time you're watching this video, they may very well be a prince and princess. Queen Elizabeth, however, had more than just one son. She had 4 kids all in all. These were Charles, Anne, Andrew and Edward. What has become of the 3 siblings of the new king, Charles, and their titles? Well, there hasn't been as much change on this front. Her eldest daughter Anne has had the title Princess Royal since 1987. The title of Princess Royal goes to the eldest daughter of the monarch. As Charles only had sons, it means that she got to hold on to that title and will most likely hold on to it until her own death. The next potential Princess Royal is William's daughter Charlotte. When William becomes king, she could very well receive this title, as she is the eldest daughter of the monarch. King Charles's brother of Andrew, however, well, he is still the Duke of York, but he might end up losing that title too. But that's for a completely different reason and has nothing to do with the death of his mother. Though he and his ex-wife did receive custody of the Queen's corgi, so that's something. Poor little things. The biggest potential name change for one of the king's siblings is with his youngest brother of Prince Edward. He is currently the Duke of Wessex, but he might receive the title of Duke of Edinburgh, a title most deeply linked with his late father of Prince Philip, who used it as a namesake of the programme for young people to ensure them to explore nature and help with their local communities. I'm more than happy to admit I never did the DOE because I was a lazy, fat child. Phil would be disappointed. But when he died in 2021, the title automatically went to Charles, who was still prince at the time. But when he became king in 2022, he dropped this title. However, he didn't pass it on to William, it just ceased to be, meaning there is no current Duke of Edinburgh. So why might Prince Edward be the one to end up with this title? Well, on his wedding day, it was promised to him by his mother that when Philip died, he would become the next Duke of Edinburgh. But this never actually happened. It all depends on what his older brother, King Charles, wishes for now. He could make his brother the DOE, but as mentioned, he apparently wants to slim down the monarchy, so maybe not. I personally feel, however, that Charles will make someone, possibly Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh, solely because of the aforementioned Duke of Edinburgh programme, which needs an actual Duke of Edinburgh to hand out those sweet, sweet gold awards. And of course, Anne, Andrew and Edward all have children of their own, some of which also have grandchildren like Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. It seems that none of their titles will be changing anytime soon, simply because they're so far removed from the line of succession that they don't come into play in this last shift in the UK monarchy. But from what I can gather, this is all the major title changes that have occurred due to the death of Queen Elizabeth II. This is undoubtedly a huge time of change within the royal family, and a huge moment in history I'm sure many of us will remember, whether it be due to the funeral itself, the ascension of a new king, or just because of that damn queue. Things are definitely different now, and the UK and the wider Commonwealth faces its next chapter, one without Elizabeth on the throne. I'm sure, however, we will all get used to it soon enough, as well as get used to all these new royal titles. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about the royals now. Name Explained depends on viewers like yourself supporting the channel financially on Patreon, so a huge thank you to everyone who does. Donating just $1 a month helps the channel amazingly and gets you bonuses including ad-free videos, exclusive content, and the power to request ideas to be made into actual Name Explained videos. $2 a month gets you all that, plus your name here with all these awesome people. Visit patreon.com/nameexplain or click the link down below to find out how you too can support the channel. Thank you. Thanks for reaching the end of the video. Why not watch another and subscribe to keep up to date on all things Name Explain. You can find myself on Instagram where I'm NameExplainYT, and join the Facebook group Friends of Name Explain to talk with myself and other name nerds. All that will be linked down below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and once again, thank you all so much.